But let's be realistic, okay?
Hello. You there?
All right, just welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast, and we are here to do the Big Fuss Show.
Can I please have your attention?
There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
It's actually very exciting.
It's actually very exciting. Yeah.
With me tonight, it looks like. Guys, how'd y'all like week 6? I thought it was terrible myself, but that's because
It was as expected.
Yeah.
Everything went
Haywire.
as expected.
I'm still puzzled.
okay, if you say so.
I'm still puzzled at
But
how
we are.
how Miami lost that game against Georgia Tech. I still don't understand how they lost that game. That is blowing my mind at this point. Like,
Yeah, we'll get to that. I promise. We'll get to that.
Which one? Wait, sorry. Which one were you referring to?
Yeah, that was.
Which one?
the Miami Georgia Tech.
Oh
game.
yeah. That
Where you
was
just run the clock out instead of actually kneeling instead of running, and they fumble the ball, and Georgia Tech goes down and scores and wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, that was
Yeah, we'll get to it, Hammonds. I promise.
mind blowing.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are College Sportscast. We are here to do the Big Fuss Show. We are presented by the Fanboys, featured on Let's Talk Sports, Sideline Sports, Stadium Rent, the Real Fresh Channel, being TV.
That's
Pepsi sponsor with
That's the new
the
logo.
Fanboy. Is it?
Yes,
That
it's
looks
the
like
new-
the old logo.
It's the new
logo.
one. It's the new one.
It's the new old logo.
Yeah, because this is there we go. There's the old logo right there.
Yeah, I meant like old school logo, not.
I know.
Yeah,
what you
it
meant.
That's
looks
what I
like the old from the 90s. It kind of favors it a little bit.
Yeah,
Well, yes, they went retro,
80s
and then
even,
they
maybe.
also did a few things with it.
Yeah.
80s, I guess. Whatever.
Thickened the font and everything like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're gonna get started with some hot topics and news and stuff. So today I seen where it says that Travis Hunter may play against Stanford Friday night. Of course, Stanford is a terrible team. If he does get back, it would give him kind of a game to get going before before next week's game. So, and it's a Friday night game this time. So,
Well, even without Hunter, I think Colorado can pretty much beat Stanford. Stanford's just not a real good football team.
Correct.
no, yeah, they're not. And it would be kind of a warm-up game is what I'm saying if he does get back.
Yes.
Our
Yes,
next
it would be.
one topic, as far as news and stuff, is South Carolina Juice Wells is doubtful for Florida this week. So that would be kind of a big hit for South Carolina if he can go
But
against
they still
Florida.
got Xavier. They still got Xavier Leggett, so they're not
They
hurting
do.
as much
They
as
do.
everybody. They still got a dynamic wide receiver for Spencer Rattler. And I'm gonna
They
go.
do.
I'm gonna go and say this real quick. This is on the Florida aspect of it. Florida went on the road to Kentucky and they lost, right? And it put a bad taste in their mouth. Well, now they got an opportunity. They're 4-2, right? And they got an opportunity to go to South Carolina and improve to 5-2. Think about this. After what Napier has been through this year with, people saying, oh, Napier needs to be fired, people throwing stones at him and whatnot. Go into South Carolina and you're 5-2 going into the next week. Your whole season pretty much turns around and changes with a win.
I mean,
in
I
South
agree
Carolina.
with you. If they can beat South Carolina and be 5-2 to start their season out, the first 7 games, like that's way better than I thought they would be, to be honest. So they definitely would be on the uptick from what I kind of thought they would be. So I agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with what John said. So yeah.
Yep. All right, my bit of news is TCU quarterback Morris is supposed to miss multiple games. It didn't say so far exactly how many games, but TCU is 3-3 after last season, sitting right now, and they are without their quarterback for at least 2, 3, 4 games. So that's not looking good for TCU, guys.
No, it isn't. But again, TCU is also 3-3 with them. So
Yeah, they're not
really a
playing.
great team with him, but that definitely you don't necessarily want to go multiple weeks without a starting quarterback. But then again, you could, end up upgrading with the backup quarterback, but we'll find out this week.
Well, and you're not
within the
exactly
next one.
setting the world on fire either,
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, look,
TC
the team last year was close, but they were really playing with. I mean, just they were playing with fire every game because of the fact that they were playing each game really, really close, and they had at that point, what seemed to be a world beater quarterback, or at least a quarterback that was very resilient and opportunistic and everything like that. But this year, I mean, it's not. I mean,
and they lost to a
massive.
very average Iowa State team. It's not really that great, and
There's a couple of losses there that aren't great. So
they're just not. They're not the team they was last year.
Oh no! And even the team last year was not that great either.
They just had.
So let's just.
Basically, they was just playing with house money,
Correct. Yep.
I mean, I agree with you. The next one is Kansas QB Jalen Daniels is doubtful versus Oklahoma State. What's up? Like Daniels is always hurt. Seems like.
Yeah. This is kind of mind-boggling, to be honest.
I'm sure we'll find something out. Then we'll go. Oh, that's why he was out.
Well, and even without him, they're a pretty good football team. But they're more dynamic.
Their backup has done a great job.
But they're more dynamic with him at quarterback.
Correct.
And, I said last week, was it last week, Oklahoma State played Kansas State, and you say, well, Kansas might struggle in this game, or they might. But you look last week, I said, well, Kansas State's going to dominate Oklahoma State. And that they kind of put a boot in my mouth because Oklahoma State came out and they put it to Oklahoma State. Well, they only won by 7, but at the same time, they dominated the whole box score. And you can't take nothing for granted in college football because each week is a different week. That's why I always say any given Saturday, somebody can beat somebody. Or any given Friday, that was Friday night last week.
Yeah, it was. But, I mean, you're right for sure. Jalen Daniels is dynamic, but he just can't seem to stay healthy and stay on the field.
No, there's something not right there.
Yeah. It's going to be after last week in Oklahoma State, playing well. Without Daniels, it might be a tough game. I don't know. We'll have to see.
You just don't know.
All right. So next thing is a topic, guys. I want to know what your opinion is on coaches on the hot seat.
Like, are you asking us who is on the hot seat?
Yeah. Who do you think in college football, and it don't have to be a certain number or anything, just who do you think's kind of on the hot seat right now? I've got one that I'm going to ask about, but I'll start with that.
Well, I mean, we can look at a few of them right now. The first one that you can look at, and this is really just a straight up reactionary, what was Mario Cristobal thinking kind of thing. This is the second time in which something like this has happened in a game that he has coached. One happened at Oregon, the other one now at Miami. Yeah. So this isn't the first time that this has happened, and you want a head coach that prepares for all of this. And now we're starting to see that there are multiple times where there's just blunders. But
speaking of him being on the hot seat, wait a second. I just want to add this. So, do y'all know that he is 0-5? He's winless at home in the ACC.
Yes,
so
I just saw this stat earlier this week. So yes,
he's winless.
He is 0-5 at home versus conference opponents. Yes,
Brad, It says
I've heard this.
Joshua said, "Brad, you are breaking up bad. Lots of static."
Yep, you went back to your static ways. So, but the other one that I was really going to say, and this is not new. This is old news. We're just bringing it back up because he recently lost. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Jimbo.
Well, and there's a few that I have, Jeff Hafley, with Boston College, but he might have saved his job by beating Virginia, but not by much. I still think, even if
I'm gonna throw a name
Boston
at
College,
you.
I'm
gonna throw a name at you. Sam Pittman, the hot seat.
He's another one.
Yeah. That one is that's another one that people are starting to kind of grow weary of him. But I mean, he's a good guy, but is he right?
I think Pat Narduzzi from Pitt is on a sinking ship, to be honest. They've only beaten Wofford, and that's pretty much it. I think this whole experiment needs to end. The game, to me, has passed him by, to be honest. He's not the same coach that he was. I think Pitt needs to go in a different direction and move to a different direction. But I'll also add with the Pitt, I would even go as far as say Dana Holgorsen from Houston is gone if he does not go to a bowl game. Frankly, I think the loser of the game in Baylor could be the ending of either one of them, Dave Aranda and Dana Holgorsen. Dave Aranda has he's kind of surprised me. I thought he would be a better hire than what he was. He had that 1 good year with Baylor. Then
that was his first year.
His first year.
Yeah.
And since then, it's just kind of went downhill, and it's not been the same. So those are two that I've kind of pinpointed. But like you said, Sam Pittman's on another one. Have you seen their schedule? They got Alabama coming up. Then they play, I think, Mississippi State at home, which to me is an absolutely winnable game because Mississippi State isn't the gold standard this year compared to last year and the last couple of years. They haven't really had that great of a year, and a lot of it's because of their defense. I think it's Mississippi State. I'm trying to think.
Still have Auburn.
It's Florida, at Florida. Then they play Auburn at home. Then they play FIU, and then they play Missouri at home. There's a great chance that Arkansas don't even go to a bowl game.
Well, I mean, they've lost 4 in a row. They're 2-4.
If they don't go to a bowl game, you have to wonder, do they pull the plug on Sam Pittman?
And I thought Pittman was really doing well there beginning of last year, but
He was. There's just been so many issues this year. You've had the defense struggle at times. KJ's looked good at times, but then he's had some really bad games. And then you have the fans, coaches emailing the fans. You got Sam Pittman deactivating his Twitter. There's been a lot of drama behind the locker room, and that's never a good recipe.
Yeah, so the
Now it
coaches
looks like-
were emailing the fans. That was Dan Enos, right?
Dan Enos, yeah.
The same Dan Enos that left Alabama in the middle of the night.
yeah.
What's that tell you?
He's running from contact.
All right, guys. So my next topic is this. I called last week, week 6, the haves and the have-nots in college football. That's what I called it on the weekend wrap-up show on Sunday. We had Michigan win at Minnesota real big, and A&M over Texas or Alabama over Texas A&M, and Georgia over Kentucky, and so you had the haves and the have-nots. So I was just going to ask you guys, do you see it that way? Do who are your haves and who are your have-nots through week 6 of college football?
So I wasn't really on the show last week, but the Kentucky score was not surprising to me. I wasn't surprised by that. The Oklahoma and Texas game,
Oklahoma over Texas was another one.
was pretty. I mean, it's kind of the way I thought it might go. I mean, it was one of those that was a coin flip at the end, but Oklahoma did get out to a little bit of a lead, and then Texas was trying to furiously come back, and they fell just short.
Mine.
Then you had Missouri at LSU, LSU
Right.
at Missouri, and
Yeah.
that one, you had undefeated Missouri thinking that they might actually be a football team, and they put up a fight early on, but then LSU's offense, because they just absolutely can put up some points, were able to do stuff, and that's the thing. Like LSU's defense is not that great.
No, it's
But-
terrible.
My biggest
but-
surprise to me on my end of it was how bad Notre Dame's offense has been.
That is a surprise to me.
The last 2 or
Right.
3 weeks, it's not been good. It's been average, and not so much Louisville, because Louisville does what they do. Jeff Brom's a really good coach. Jordan might be one of the better backs in the country for Louisville. He's really good. They got a really good football team. Defensive wise, they're pretty good. My other surprise was, I'm trying to think, I had it labeled here.
Miami is always thinking
Well,
they're a
Miami's-
have.
Miami,
They're a have.
Miami's
They're
one of
have.
them.
They're have. No, wait a minute. They're a have not.
But Syracuse is another one. And I get it. I know they went into North Carolina and got whipped. But Syracuse, to me, looked like a better team than what I thought they would be. But the last 2 weeks, they have just looked like they haven't played it down in football.
Yeah.
And I'll say this on the Miami thing. You have an opportunity to win this game. Kneel down. You see the coaches talking over there. You don't really know what's being said. But you would think that one of them would look at one or the other and say, hey, we need to kneel this down. We need to finish the game. They was looking at the play clock. I think they was trying to figure out if play clock was going to expire or how. I don't know what they was thinking. And then the fumble.
We'll get to the
fumble,
Miami game.
I don't even think that was a
I have
fumble.
a thing, a topic on it. So
I don't
but
even
we'll
think
get to
that
the
was a
Miami
fumble.
game.
I don't even think that was a fumble.
It may not have been. I saw a steal.
tied.
It was a steal that looked like the guy's elbow was on the ground. I mean, I don't know.
But you still shouldn't be
honestly.
in that situation.
Yeah, don't be in that situation. Don't get it to where that's what was the difference in the game. So Miami should have just absolutely, finished off Georgia Tech, and they didn't, and they couldn't. So, you let it go down to a decision like that, and you let it go down to a point where that was the deal, and sometimes, stuff happens. So
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, guys, we're going to move on to pick six.
Bradley, your mic is not working.
It's muted.
You have done muted yourself.
You are muted.
You are muted. Don't.
Oh, goodness.
We're talking the college playoffs, Power 6. I was born in the dark,
Goodness.
murdered by it.
I'm built by the dark.
I did not see the light.
I'm molded by it. Oh, goodness gracious.
Choose your 6. John, so we got the college football playoffs, Power 6. Go for it.
Let's see. My Power 6. One would be Georgia. Most definitely. After what they done Saturday to Kentucky, that was not suited for children above. That was just not a good showing from Kentucky.
You can only be this tall to ride the ride.
Yeah. 2 would be Michigan. I think Michigan is head and shoulders above everybody else in that 2 spot, beyond Georgia. 3, as much as I want to put Ohio State, I just can't. They haven't impressed me. That's why I'm gonna put Oklahoma in that spot.
Okay.
Oklahoma has impressed me. They got the win. That Ohio State win to me against Notre Dame is not as impressive now. But the Oklahoma win to me is more impressive because they went to Texas and won. And I just feel like that has a lot to do with it. And the fact that Ohio State hasn't been able to put away teams. They just haven't been able to do the things that they want to do to get to that level. And not that they can't, because we still got quite a bit of time to see how good they are. But right now, I don't see it with Ohio State. Was that 3?
That was 3.
4, I would have to go Florida State. Florida State's proved it all year long. They even in the bad games, they made plays to win. They took care of things. Saturday they kind of started out a little bit fast, and then Virginia Tech kind of pulled up and tried to get back in it, and Florida State put them away. Florida State's a really solid team with Jordan Travis, Coleman. They got a really good football team. Florida State does. 5, I'm going to go Penn State. I think this might be the year Penn State can finally hit that level to where they say, hey, we're just not an afterthought. We actually can be in this thing. And, they got good quarterback play. And you add good quarterback play to their defense that they've already got, that's impressive. I think the last 2 games that they played they dominated the 2 teams they played, and they've done it on a big stage, and that says a lot. Franklin, Coach Franklin, to me, is one of the most underrated coaches in the country that doesn't get a lot of credit. And 6, this is a toughie because in between there you got Oregon. You could put Texas, USC, and Washington. But I'm going to go Washington. This offense is loaded. Michael Penix Jr. might be the best quarterback in the country. He's got the weapons at wide receiver. But my biggest concern with Washington is their defense down the road, especially in a bigger environment and bigger game. Can their defense hold up against some of these better teams? But if I had to pick right now, it's Georgia, Michigan, Oklahoma, Florida State, Penn State, and Washington. And I know people's going to get after me because I didn't put Ohio State in there, but I'm just not impressed.
I don't think you can have – can you hear me now, by the way?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're good.
Okay.
For now.
Okay. I don't think you can have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State in your top 6 because at least one of them is going to be knocked out.
Well, the biggest thing with Ohio State to me, they struggled with Maryland. They didn't put Maryland away till at least the end of the second half. They haven't impressed me at all. The win against Notre Dame is looking less and less dominant. It's not looking like it's a win. It's a great win. Don't get me wrong. It's on the road, big win in a hard environment. But at the same time, other teams in front of them and behind them have had better wins, I think.
All right. I mean, that's fair. What do you think? What do you think, Roberts?
Okay, so I like Georgia at number 1. So we're just going to start from the top and we'll go down. So Georgia, and then I'm actually going to go which way do I want to go here? I'm going to go OU, Oregon, FSU, Michigan, and then let's see, 1, 2, 3, FSU, Michigan. That's 4, 5.
That's 5.
And then Washington. We'll go Washington after that. So, basically, I kicked out Penn State, traded Penn State for Oregon. Essentially, changed up the order just a little bit, but that's not really where I was more focused on. I think I was more going with the 6 teams, not necessarily the order in which they were appearing. Georgia, for obvious reasons, they were able to change the way that they played. They pretty much essentially were playing the first 5 games. We want to establish a run. We want to establish a run to be able to, slow the game down, be able to play basically joyless murder ball like what Alabama has been, talking about doing. That's what Georgia's been wanting to do. And they haven't been able to have great success, kind of like Alabama, haven't had great success with it. So then in the second half, they have to bust out the passing game. They have to get Brock Bowers involved. And then
thing
all of a
about
sudden
Georgia,
he saved the day. Well, this time what they did is they decided, screw it, let's start doing that and see what happens. And they started throwing the ball early, and they started getting it to Brock Bowers early in the game instead of waiting until the end of the game and going, oh wait, we do have an ace up our sleeve, let's go ahead and use it now.
Well, the thing about Georgia, I tell people this all the time with Georgia, is they can have a really bad game, where they don't look like Georgia.
Right.
And say, like, for instance, I'll give you an example, the South Carolina game where they was behind was it 14-3 at halftime?
Well, it's 14-0 early, and then 14-3 at 14-3 at half.
And it was like the second half, whatever Kirby said to them, they hit another gear.
Yeah.
It's like they got another gear, like that no other team has.
Right.
And it's like they just turn it on that quick. Like they get behind and they just turn it on.
Right. And again,
that's what I tell people when you're matching up against guys that, 80-some players are 4- and 5-star athletes. Eventually those guys are going to turn it on and they're going to figure it out. And that's we'll talk about this later, but that's the whole NIL deal that I'm.
Well, that's the difference between Georgia versus Texas A&M.
Stoops was trying to talk about last night. When the talent gap is so wide, there's nothing you can really do. I mean, you got to hope that they have an off game. Is what I'm saying. You got to hope that they're not hitting on all cylinders. You got to play a perfect game. That's like Kentucky. I'll give you an example. The Kentucky game Saturday. The first drive, Georgia went down. They scored 7-0. Right. Well, Kentucky comes back. They have a few little runs with Ray Davis. Then Devin Leary, for some odd reason, misses a wide open touchdown to, was it Tavion
Robinson? Yeah.
Wide open.
Nobody within catch it.
All he has to catch it, and he's in the end zone. And that was not just one play. There was 2 or 3 like that, and he just missed. Right. Yeah. And after that, you had the penalty with Jagger Burton where he tried to play Yokozuna on one of the Georgia players where he sat on top of the Rikishi type thing. That was undisciplined. Then you had Deion Walker elbow a guy to the ground like they're
and then not only did he do the elbow, but then there was another one where he went and did the where I think he just kind of threw his shoulder or threw his head right into somebody.
It was those kind of things, like undisciplined stuff, like stuff that you just don't do in a crucial game against the number 1 team in the country on the road. Right.
Yeah. You don't give up those penalties, or you don't commit those penalties and expect to beat the number 1 team in the country. So if you're, a massive underdog or just an underdog in general going against the number 1 team in the country, you can't be the one that commits those penalties. Right now, like you get Alabama versus Georgia. Alabama's going to be right now. They've been committing a bunch of pre-snap penalties. And they've committed a bunch of penalties, in the last couple of years, which is kind of why they haven't won a few of these games, and why there's been a bit of a reversal because of the fact Georgia doesn't commit these penalties. Alabama has started to commit some of these undisciplined penalties, and that's why they have not. They've fallen off.
You guys off, but we're going to move on.
Yeah.
We're going to move on so we can get through because I've got some other topics and stuff here, and we're kind of getting off topic.
Cool.
A lot of that was Georgia. I was just trying to explain about Georgia's.
Yeah.
So the next one's not a football. Basketball is starting up soon. And Kentucky.
You're sounding like a cartoon, man.
Kentucky is brought. I help. It will not find my mic that I'm actually using here, and I don't know why. It won't find it. And it was on before you guys got on. I was on there, and then when you guys get on, it's not there anymore. I don't know. UK basketball, they got a bunch of talent coming in. John, I wanted to know from you, I think is going to be the top 6 contributors this season for Kentucky basketball.
You gotta go Reeves.
There's a bunch
you
of
gotta
guys. Who's top 6?
My top 6 would probably go Reeves. Probably DJ Wagner. 3 would be Mitchell, I think. 4. Who am I missing? 4 would probably be the other guard, Dillingham. 5 would probably be Reed Shepherd, maybe. I think Reed Shepherd's going to get a lot of time out there. And 6 would most likely would probably be I look for Uganda to have a decent season. Maybe Bradshaw, when Bradshaw gets back, because Bradshaw is a real big key to the puzzle with Kentucky.
Well, that's mine. I'm going to tell you mine real quick. Mine's Wagner, Reese, Edwards, Mitchell, Bradshaw, and Shepherd. That's my 6.
Yep.
That's my 6.
John don't have to do this. He's not a Kentucky fan.
John, I wasn't sure that he was going to be on here, so I just put a couple of things on there.
John hadn't gotten into basketball yet.
Yeah.
Basketball season has not started for John.
Yeah, I got you. Well, this week is Big Blue Madness, so we're starting to get
Is
into
Tom
it.
Hart there?
I don't know who'll be there.
I don't know. He's the mayor of Lexington, so I was just wondering.
I don't know. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to our no-fly zone, and I'm not going to play the video because I played the video and it cut my mic and it wouldn't let it come back on. So
You're just going through like I can't even hear a word you're saying. Like it's
like I said, before y'all got on, my mic was fine, and now it's not even showing up. The mic that I have on, and I have no idea. It's something all the time when I have people on with me. All right, Mario Cristobal, Miami. Is that the biggest boneheaded blunder in college football?
No, but it is
boneheaded
equal.
play.
It's close or equal to, but maybe not the most bonehead. He has done this before, so we could say that his previous mistake could have been the bonehead one because he did it to Stanford.
I think this one's
while at
worse.
Oregon.
I think it's worse.
Okay, Alabama did it against Auburn in 1997.
yeah.
Where they should have ran the ball instead. Freddie Kitchens tries to throw it to Ed Sissom. Ed Sissom ends up dropping the ball. Auburn gets the ball, runs it back to a point where they are able to kick a field goal or recovers it, and soon thereafter kicks a game-winning field goal, wins it 18-17. That was in 1997. So
Georgia Tech had 0 timeouts. Zero
I mean,
timeouts.
I'm
think-
saying it's up there. I just don't know if it. I don't know if I could rank it as the biggest blunder that's out there.
That's a pretty big ass blunder. Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It is. I don't know if it is the biggest. I'd have to go really, really think about that one. But off the top of my head, I'm always going to kind of fare to the other side. But at the same time, yes, it's bad. It's real bad. I'm not excusing it. I think it's really bad.
What makes this game so crucial though? I was talking about it on some kind of space the other night on Twitter, is the fact that if Miami wins this game, they're basically 5-0 going to North Carolina. Now they're 4-1, and if they lose Saturday against North Carolina, they're going to be 4-2, and you pretty much, the great season that everybody wanted Miami to have, it's wiped out.
Correct.
But
you can absolutely royally F up North Carolina's season by knocking.
Yeah, that's the other part of it.
Yeah.
Mass chaos, and this is what I'll be rooting for.
But the thing is, North Carolina hardly ever loses at home much. They're really good at home.
Yeah.
And Miami's going to have to play a complete game to beat Drake May in that offense.
All the way through the final second of the game.
I mean, just kill the clock. I mean, just run the
knees
clock.
And all.
That's all you got to do.
But to me, that's a no-fly. There's been bigger blunders.
It's been a long time.
There's been a lot.
It's been
bigger
a long
blunders.
time in college football since there was something that stupid.
Where somebody made a coaching mistake like that.
Yeah. Well, you could look at the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma and Boise State. That was another one that was kind of, the hook. Was it the hook and lateral?
Yeah, but but those were. This is a
win. This is like all you got to do is
those were
put your knee on the ground.
I wouldn't say gimmick plays, but those were plays that
game in the NFL where Phil Simms went to take a knee and they lost it where he lost the ball. That was a huge blunder. What was that, back in the early 80s or 90s?
80s, yeah. I think that was maybe in the late 80s.
It's the Eagles, maybe?
Yeah.
Where they went to take a knee and instead he lost handle of the ball and they went and recovered it and scored.
Yeah.
How do you let that happen?
I mean, that's what this is. This is that's crazy, I think. All right, my next one is surprise. Georgia and Bama are separating themselves from the SEC contenders. Aren't y'all surprised by that?
No.
So surprised. Absolutely surprised. I don't understand. Where did they come from? Who would have ever thought about this? This was the last thing on everybody's mind. I would never have been able to guess Georgia.
3 weeks ago, Alabama was dead to the water. They were going to be trash. Everybody was going to, now here they are. They look like Alabama again.
That's just called stupidity for anybody that thought that. But anyway.
I was looking at the schedules and the games coming up. Do you know who really has the inside shot at going to the SEC championship? I know everybody says Alabama.
Right.
But it's LSU.
They do right now.
If they can beat Alabama, they're going to the SEC championship.
LSU?
Yeah.
I mean, if Alabama beats LSU, they're going to the SEC championship.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
LSU has pretty much the cards to winning this thing, even with the way they are playing on defense.
Yeah, but when Auburn beats LSU this weekend, then they won't.
Well,
actually, that's
if
that's
LSU
not happening.
slips up one time.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
Great. I don't trust Auburn's offense this weekend, so yeah.
Good luck. Good luck in Louisiana.
I know. I just can't believe that this is a fly. I mean, honestly, I can't believe that this is a fly. So that Georgia and Alabama are separating themselves.
But I will say this: I still don't think Alabama is on Georgia's level.
No, they're not. But they're not that far off.
But they're not far
I don't
off.
think there's too many teams in the country that's on Georgia's level.
Correct.
Georgia is
Exactly.
a different animal.
Right.
So I mean, like this is okay. So Georgia is Alabama back in the early 2010s, and
Yes.
Alabama is like Florida in the early 2010s. So the SEC, it's not that there's a crowded East like there was in the early in the early 2010s. There was 3 or 4 heavy hitter West teams.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's not 3 or 4 heavy hitter East teams. So I can't just say
Or
that it's just
West
a complete
this time.
reversal. But what I can say is Alabama is probably the better of a weaker side or a weak division, whatever. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a weaker, the division's weaker than it has been, the West.
It has been.
And,
Absolutely.
and Georgia is just a monster. And
We found that out on Saturday.
Yeah.
you effed around and
I
found
mean-
out, didn't you?
Yeah. We did. And speaking of that, I am, and this was kind of for you. Okay. Mark Stoops last night call-in show made some really I
I can't hear you, Brad.
After the Georgia loss, you can't hear me at all of a sudden.
No,
just-
you're just
Rattling, man.
regurgitating. Oh, they ain't
You're gurgling.
gurgle. But anyway,
That's crazy. All right, that one's for you. Go ahead. What's your
Okay.
take on it? Was it out of character for Mark Stoops?
I think it was because if you look at the whole broadcast, like if you take time to sit and listen to the whole broadcast, he was extra spicy the entire night. He's something, he was on the edge.
It's called humility. It's called humility. He was
And-
given a dose of humility.
Well, and the thing was,
And he didn't like it.
he had one caller call in. He said something
That's
about
what it
getting
was.
over the hump. He told him getting over the hump. He said, we have these games where we play Georgia and, Tennessee and such others, etc. And he said, we just seem like we can't get over the hump. And then he kind of went into a big conversation, and he's like, well, if you think you can do it, why don't you come up here and do it? If you think you can coach, like spitting back at the fans. And then the second caller, I'm not sure where he was from. I can't remember. I wasn't paying that much. I was just paying attention to what Stoops was doing. And he was talking about, why we couldn't beat Georgia and this and this. And Georgia, he went on to say, Georgia pays their players. We need help. And we need the NIL, like the donations. He said it'd be nice to have donations and help. But what this made me think was when he said this was out of character for him, was that we're not that good and my coaching's not that good and our players are not that good. That's how it came out. And
I can see that, I had a conversation today, and I think it is out of character. He's been here 11 years. I've never seen him respond like that. I've never seen him behave like that. I think he got a heavy dose of humility on Saturday night, and he didn't like it.
I think
That's what
a
I
lot
think.
of it is that's what a media member said today. He got humiliated on national TV, and he's just angry over it, and he's snapping at whatever is said.
Yeah.
And sometimes you
Those
got to take your
call-in
lead.
shows, though, are when you get beat like that and you're angry and upset, and you got to do. Imagine, John, you get upset at these games. Imagine if you had to do a call-in show with fans and they're badgering the crap out of you right after. You wouldn't do good with it either. So
No, you would snap.
yeah, I mean, it's
crackle and
it's-
pop.
John,
it's a
that's the
it's
thing,
a dangerous
like,
game.
And the thing is, he got humiliated on national TV in front of thousands of people. And every single time that something went wrong, it went wrong. And every single time a situation happened with a horrible penalty or a drop pass, you could see him on the sidelines. It's like, oh my goodness, what do I got to do to make this better? And it just was never getting no better. And every time we had a little confidence and we was moving the ball, Devin Leary would get sacked and it would push them back 10, 15 yards. It was just like every little thing that went wrong Saturday night. And like you said, Brad, it's just a dose of humility. And then on top of that, you get on a Monday call-in show and you have to hear from the fans and them ratting on you and ranting and raving. And then you have to hear it from them. You reach a boil point.
And I think he was completely out of character for Stoops myself.
He was off the whole show though. Like
I say it's a fly. I know probably Roberts didn't hear about any of this, so he probably doesn't even know. But here in Kentucky, this has been a big deal for the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, really, in the state of Alabama, the only thing that we've been hearing is, Saban felt pretty good about the Texas A&M game, and that Hugh Freeze has announced that we're not playing Georgia every year. So
I saw that too. So yeah.
So that's all we're talking about.
All right. I'm gonna ask y'all this. Does Texas get and win a rematch with Oklahoma later in the season championship game, Big 12? Is this a fly or no fly?
I think it's a fly. But my goodness, what I would do. Brad knows what I'm getting ready to say. Brad knows what I'm getting ready to say.
He's getting on the top rope right now.
What I would do to see West Virginia in that matchup. After all that Neil Brown's been through, for him to go to the Big 12 championship.
Out of Troy.
After being said that, he's on the hot seat, his job's on the line.
Yes. Then went through Troy.
Yes.
Everybody's saying, well, Neil Brown's job's on the line. Neil Brown's going to be fired. And then he comes out and he just does what – it's amazing what he's done this year with what he's had. Like,
it is. I agree with you.
4-1.
Yep.
They're 4-1
so far.
All they need is 2 wins to get to a bowl game, and many thought they wouldn't even make a bowl game this year.
Yep.
But what I would do for West Virginia to stir up the party in the Big 12, that would.
I think we got 2 teams that's pretty much head shoulders above everybody else.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think this is a fly because Texas and Oklahoma, to me, are the 2 best teams in the Big 12. Maybe they might be 2 of the best teams in college football, too, next to Georgia.
Yeah.
With Georgia being the runaway.
John Roberts, is this a fly? Does Texas not only get it? Do you think they can win?
Look, they have the ability to win it. They're going to get it. I think that's a fly. They're going to get the rematch, and they have the ability to win it. They were close last Saturday. They at times, you thought that they might actually be able to pull it off, but I mean, round 1 went to Oklahoma, and I think that if Texas gets this rematch, and actually I wouldn't say really if, it's when Texas gets this rematch at the end of the year, I think that they have a very big shot at pulling off the win at the end of the year, and it would be much like any time that Georgia and Alabama played regular season and then in the championship game, or the year that Alabama and Georgia played in the SEC championship game and then the national championship game, or Auburn and Alabama or Auburn and Georgia playing in the SEC, playing a regular season game and then the championship game, So I mean, it's a lot of stuff like that. I think that it's almost a done deal. They're going to play each other at the end of the year. Again,
I think one of them won't be going to the college football playoffs, though.
Well, that's yes. The loser of that game is not going. That's
More than
that,
likely.
that right there.
You're
Is,
right.
That right there is
Now, if
Excuse
Oklahoma
me.
don't have no losses up until then,
They
and they
might.
lose, they could possibly get in.
it really depends on the
Everybody else, yeah.
because you're going to have Oregon and Washington rematch each other because they're going to play this weekend. It's going to be awesome.
That's
They're going to
actually
play each other
That's
this
actually
weekend.
my next topic, by
And
the way.
then they're going
That's
to
my
then
last
they're going to play then they're going to play again at the end of the year, and you may have the same kind of thing. The winner that wins this one may end up losing in the championship game to the same team, and
Right.
doesn't make it to the playoff because you may just get a Western team, one Pac-12 team, one Big 12 team, Georgia. And
One
then
big
you
team.
got to figure out whether it's between Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, the winners that have come through there, or if you think Florida State's good enough to do it.
Right.
I mean, it
I agree.
comes down to something like that, unless somehow the West they decide to all lose to each other. So like Oregon and or Washington, Oregon, Utah, like. Oh, USC just comes in and wins a game, but then loses a bunch because their defense sucks. But beats one of those top teams because their offense is good. Something like that. Because I don't believe in USC. I don't believe in the defense of USC. I think that they're not a championship team. They can put up a huge offensive numbers, but anybody that has any sort of defense like an Oregon or a Washington or a Utah can beat them because I think they'll slow them down enough.
Oh, I agree.
And then now Utah may not have the offense to hang with them, but Oregon and Washington do. And they have the
but
defense
Utah's
to stop
probably
them.
got the best defense out of all.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Utah's got the best defense.
Yeah.
They just may not have much of an offense,
Right.
unless Cam Rising, showed up and started playing. So
Bad Moon Rising.
there you go.
All right. So I think this one could be a fly. I think it absolutely is a fly that Texas will play them again.
Yeah.
We'll see if they'll, get the win or not. And then my last topic for No Fly Zone is the Oregon and Washington game. The winner of this game this week play the Pac-12 championship. Is that true or false? Is it fly or no fly?
Did you say does the winner play for the Pac-12 championship? Well, guaranteed yes, but they're going to be playing each other, so it doesn't matter. It's those two teams are playing each other.
I think there's some challengers that could get in the Pac-12.
They're challengers, but they're not going to. They're not going to win.
I don't think
they're not
going to
get in.
12, but in the Pac-12, I do.
Well, yeah, they're look, USC is a challenger. They're an outside challenger, and Utah is an outside challenger. Yes, you have other challengers, but at the end of the day, it's Oregon and Washington.
I'm not so sure USC don't get there.
I cannot see.
And I tell you why, because of that defense. That defense against really good teams coming up. Oregon, don't they play Washington too?
Yeah, I think everybody plays everybody. Do they not?
Yeah.
No, they don't all play each other.
They don't do a round robin. Okay.
No.
Well, yeah, because there's probably 14 teams right now. I mean, it's about to be 2. So.
Yeah.
And they already played each other.
They play Notre Dame this weekend. Then they play Utah. They do play Oregon and Washington. They play Washington at home, and then they play USC plays at Oregon. So either way, they're going to be tested.
Right.
But I'm not so sure that with that defense against Michael Penix and Bo Nix, they're going to light some scoreboards up, which USC is too. Caleb Williams is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any.
The winner of this game has an inside track to the Pac-12 championship.
Yes.
And is going to be there.
Yes.
And it's likely going to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so. Now,
Yeah.
not the loser's going to get there or not.
I think the
The
loser will
winner
get there
is.
because I think this is the championship game. I think those
The
are the two
loser-
teams.
The loser would have to probably knock off USC to get there.
No, they will knock off
In
USC
Utah.
and Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The loser would have to remain
So-
undefeated after this game.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they will. It will be a one-loss loser versus the winner.
So you think that happens in both the Big 12 and the Pac-12 from these games?
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like
we were talking about.
the Big 12 can have multiple loss and still make it there. Because I think the Big 12 is not really good enough to deal with that. But I think the Pac-12, it's going to be a one loss. The team that loses here will only have one loss, and the team that wins will go undefeated, and they'll play each other. Brad, we've lost your mic altogether, so just giving you the heads up. That's why I've talked over you the whole time. Sorry.
The final buzzer.
Yeah, there you go. He's been buzzed out. He's done. All right. Basketball begins practicing. UK has Pro Day at Big Blue Madness this week. John, thoughts?
Well, today ESPN had Kentucky at number 15 in the country, which they was farther than that before, but they've kind of upped their ante a little bit, thinking maybe, hey, this team might be pretty good, and I think they will be. I think people are underestimating this team. That they got DJ Wagner, they got the Mitchell kid from West Virginia, they got Rob Dillingham. They get Ugana, they got Bradshaw. This is the deepest team that Calipari has had freshman-wise since probably 2015 when he had Carl Towns and that group of guys that went 38-1, I believe, where they lost in the Final Four to Wisconsin, and that game still irks me to this day. But
Was that a Final Four or was that championship?
that was a Final Four,
Ooh.
which if we'd have won, we'd have played Duke, and everybody was wanting the Kentucky Duke matchup in the championship, and it just never did happen. So, but this is a really good, fun Kentucky team. I think they're going to be fun to watch. If you haven't heard of DJ Wagner, you're going to know about him pretty quick. He's one of the better point guards in the country as a freshman. A lot of people think this team's just going to fall apart just because they're freshmen, but I don't see that. Not with this group. I watched them during the summer in the London. They absolutely shined each and every night. Reed Shepherd was putting up points. At times, Reed Shepherd was better than everybody else on the court. And that's saying a lot, and Reed Shepherd is one of those kids that he's not your normal Kentucky high school basketball player. He's a different kind of athlete. So, but I'm excited about this year. I'm excited about college basketball starting. Auburn should have a pretty decent team this year. The SEC overall is going to be loaded. Tennessee, Kentucky, you got Alabama, Arkansas might have one of the better teams that they've had in a long time. Coming in, which they lost battle to an injury. The transfer, I think he was from Temple, maybe. He's a transfer. He got injured I think a week or so ago. He was one of their big transfer guys. So, but overall, they're going to be really good. Texas A&M is going to be good. They get Wade Taylor back. Wade Taylor might be one of the better guards in the country, not just in the SEC. He put on a show last year. In the regular season, especially during the conference tournament. Who else am I missing? Florida's going to be pretty good. Georgia will be even better with Mike White. Georgia's going to be better. Vanderbilt, Jerry Stackhouse will be good. So SEC is going to be fun to watch. And I'm excited.
How about this? With the SEC, who is not going to be good? Ole Miss?
No, they'll be better because they got Chris Beard as their new coach.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're gonna be a defensive team, I think.
Okay.
They got some decent transfers in and some guys last year.
LSU stepping up.
LSU is the one that LSU might be the one. They might be better, but they're not going to be anywhere near the top. Mississippi State is one to watch, but they just lost Tulu Smith this past week to a foot injury, so that's going to hurt them. They said he wouldn't be back till SEC play, so that's going to hurt them quite a bit.
South Carolina.
South Carolina will be better. They won't be – like I said, some of these teams are not going to be up in the upper echelon like Kentucky and Arkansas and Tennessee and Alabama, but they're going to be improved. Let's just leave it at that. And there's one thing I want to say before we log off here. Jerry Stackhouse, he has done a really good thing with Vanderbilt, and I'll be honest with you. I just want to say this about him. He is one of those guys that knows how to dress, man. He has every tie. I believe he's got every
suit
suit.
to the nines.
I think he's got every suit and tie this side of Mississippi.
And has a shoe game that is unbelievable.
It's off the charts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our next show is Thursday, October 12th at 8:00 Central Standard Time. College SportsCast Game Day Pick'em Week 7. If you're a Kentucky fan out there, they play Missouri this week. Hopefully we have better –
Two have-nots playing each other.
Well, and I'm just going to say this before we go on. This might be and not on Kentucky's side, on Missouri's side. This might be a game of the year for both teams because a loss by either one of these teams and the season can go down the toilet real quick.
Spiral out of control
really quick. But
quickly.
There's one game that I'm kind of interested in for Saturday, and it's Texas A&M and Tennessee. That's a game that I think if Texas A&M loses that game, their whole season can go down the drain.
Alabama doesn't beat you just once; they beat you twice.
Yeah,
they beat you. They beat you the week that they beat you, and then they beat you the next week when you're recovering.
Yeah, there's some decent games. There's actually some decent games this week, or like you said, Oregon and Washington.
That's right.
Some fun games. I'll actually be at the UK Missouri game.
I will be at a game this weekend.
Where are you going?
I'm going to be covering the Furman Sanford game for the fan boys.
Oh, you are the man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Of course, you're an Auburn fan, in which they play LSU Saturday night.
They do.
Good
they play
luck.
at night.
Good luck.
Saturday night in Baton Rouge, man. I'll tell you, I've been to a Saturday night game in Baton Rouge, and we came out with a loss. And it was one of those, again, weird stuff happens in the middle of the night, in night games over there. And that was the Bird. That was Darius Bird catch at the end of the of the game in 2007.
And while we're on this topic, with Auburn and LSU, there has been some crazy games in those games.
Yes.
I was telling somebody yesterday, you had the earthquake game.
Correct.
You had the 94-5 game where the interceptions with LSU.
94 where there were like 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter and Auburn came back and won the game.
In a matter of like 2 or 3 drives.
It was just consecutive drives. Bam,
and then
bam,
you had I think it was the 97. I think it was in 97, I believe.
99 cigar game. Is that what the one you're going for?
In 97 where Ben Leard threw a pass in the end zone and got picked off by LSU. They had a chance to win at the end and got beat. You had the one game where the time ran out on LSU. Again, was it against Auburn? Or was it Auburn had the time run out? Or I can't remember if that was the same game.
I know 2004 there was the catch in the end zone, or the 2 fourth down plays that won the game for Auburn. Auburn ended up winning 10-9 because LSU missed an extra point early in the game in the first half. They missed an extra point, and then Auburn came down, scored with a minute and a half to go in the game, missed the extra point, but the leaping rule, it was the first year for the leaping rule, and LSU leaped the line, leaped over the line, and Auburn got a chance to re-kick and kick the game-winning extra point. And then the following time that game was in Auburn, it was or the following year in 2005, Auburn missed 5 field goals in Baton Rouge.
It's been a fun show.
Yeah.
So we might have to put Brad on Mars and let him connect from up in space.
Yeah, he needs to be in the rover and Mars. And I mean,
I like to give him a hard time. He's a cool guy, though. But that's all for our show tonight. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back Thursday night at 8 Central Standard